Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 520. Yes, it's your guide to the geek side. And 520 is about 100 times better than 420. But we're not here to smoke a bowl. We're here to talk about the world of superheroes, comic books, TV and movies, and more. I'm Todd A Show, joined by Charlie Carden.
420, 520. So it's 420 plus 100 units of something. Stems, mostly stems.
520 is the celebration of the wonderful world of meth. There you go.
Twigs. Oh, yeah, that's what you do. Yeah. So I refer to it. But yeah, it's a beautiful sunshiny day here in West Michigan. Going to hit the trail, go for a nice walk after this. Because we're not quite out of fake spring yet here in the Midwest. I don't know. I heard it's supposed to be dipped down in the 30s again this week. But whatever, we're close. It's very close. And we're excited. We got a great show for you as always. We have the first time in a long time that I can remember that we have a new section that's all trailers. We have no fluff. It's all hardcore. I don't want to call it trailer park. I don't want to call it trailer trash. It's just a trailer explosion.
Are actually happening, and Star Wars wish they actually had a trailer for a movie because
you're right.
Had one in how many years, Charlie? 6 years?
It's been 6 years since they had a film. Yeah, absolutely. Now, Star Wars Celebration is this upcoming weekend, but what do you just bet that they're not? If there's going to be a big surprise out of it, that's great. Mark and I
will be Grogu Mandalorian. It'll be that. They at least. Yeah. I think they've at least started that, or maybe they're done with that.
No, you're right. That one's done. But Mark and I will not have a show next week because he is in Disney or next time. So you'll have to wait to listen to us talk about that.
He could be in an El Salvadorian prison for all we know. We don't know. We told him he could hunker down our house, seek shelter, international. I guess we're a sanctuary city in Minneapolis, so we can be a sanctuary for Canadians.
We may all need it as our economy burns. Yes. But I digress. One thing that's not burning up in either a good way or a bad way, but I think it's in a great way, is our Secret Friends Unite Patreon. These wonderful folks who support us in our endeavor to produce bonus content, ad-free content, early content, all kinds of other fun benefits for... Now, Todd, we had a little split here. I always like to say, try us for a week for free. You found a new variation of that. What does that sound like?
Yeah, so they are offering now a Patreon. I mean, discounts are a potential thing we can start utilizing, so I have to look more into that. But that's something we're thinking about doing, is like basically a discount on your first month rather than just 1 week trial, because that's a good bonus. And then we're also looking to see if we can get annual discounts. So if you sign up for a year, you get a discount, which I think is a great way to say, hey, you support us for a full year, and we're going to reward you with paying less. So if those things come together, we'll try to make that happen.
Yes, we'll save a couple. But anyway, as it stands, you can do a week for free, and you can stay on board for as little as $2 a month. And that's a ton of entertainment, including all the great bonus shows we do, interviews, fun shows, early shows, and like I said, ad-free shows. These wonderful folks know what's going on. My buddy Derek, the figure dude, Francie, who does my wife's hair, got an appointment coming up soon, but she loves our Bad Movies podcast, which we just had a new episode last night. Luke Lohr, Mr. Xbox Expansion Pass, and my great Uncle Tim down there in South Haven, Michigan. John Sedorf, also on board, the Phoenix Sisters Entertainment, Kelly and Crayley, Brendan Myers, Corey and HT, Matthew Keel, my buddy Kurt Krug, who again is our guy that helps us with all those great interviews that we do, our friend Tanya Lee down there in the South, and we got a 1-2 punch here with the great Nias family out in the Twin Cities. Todd, what has finally evolved? It's happened. It's set in stone that the Nias family helped us make possible. What's going on?
Oh, yeah, we announced on socials and in our Discord group the winners of the Patreon giveaway. Our winners are Chipotle Bear from the Nerd Chat and also our Discord, Famous Seamus, also from our Discord, Jay Newport 007, Cam the Movie Man, who was a guest on Holocron Chronicles, and Brian Osterman, a.k.a. Prozac Man, a.k.a. Darth Prozac. So those emails have been sent to the Nias family. They will be sending out a note giving out those annual subscriptions. So that could hopefully be happening in the next 2 weeks. So let us know if you have anything, but everybody's been contacted that they have won.
That is so awesome. So welcome to these 5 great new folks. Going to be enjoying all of our new content. And we're super psyched. We're looking as we're getting into 2025 to continue to grow things and bring you all this great fun content as we have a great, summer movie season coming up and all the other great content. Even this month, we've got The Last of Us coming out. We've got Andor coming out. April is going to be very, very big. But speaking of big, because this cover seems bigger than the ones we usually see, back in 1942, that's right, during the pitch of World War II, we had Weird Comics issue 20 from, I'm going to say our publisher was FP.
A Fox Feature Comic.
Fox Feature Comic. January date, 10 cents, and it was probably 90 pages. But we've got quite a scene. Oh, everybody loves to see Hitler getting punched. So we've got 3 Nazis who are kidnapping. It looks like they're kidnapping Winston Churchill. Am I right? Is that who that looks like?
Only two Nazis, Charlie. Only two Nazis. Yeah, on a boat. Hitler has been punched into the water. And it says, before the dictator and his cohorts could make away with Varnoff, the eagle was upon them.
So that is Varnoff, the guy who is with a cigar in his mouth and a bowler hat. That's him.
Yes.
So the eagle is isn't that become a DC character? Or
I don't think so.
It's familiar.
Kind of reminds me of those Archie comics, like the Shield and the Fly.
Right.
Kind of like those characters, but I don't know what ever happened to them. And this says a Fox feature, so they may still be owned by the Fox Corporation, which may now be owned by Disney. We don't know.
Oh my God! But anyway, yes, this comic is featuring the Eagle and Buddy in The Man Who Wouldn't Stay Dead. That's clearly our main feature. But also in this comic, plus the Sorceress of Zoom, Swoop, Curtis, and the Black Rider, also the Dart and Ace, and I'm the Master of Life and Death. Wow, this, where I feel like I would see this comic, even though it was a little before that time, on George McFly's nightstand in Back to the Future, when Marty shows up as Darth Vader from the planet Vulcan. I feel like this would have been under a stack of comics.
And Charlie, this comic truly was 68 pages long. Yes, this website's great. They scan comics and stuff, and the back of the issue, by God, the ad is for the Red Rider 100,000 shot cowboy carbine. So obviously, and it was, guess where it was manufactured, Charlie?
Duluth, Minnesota.
Plymouth, Michigan.
Yay! All right, they're getting the spare metals off of the Willow Run.
Oh my God, this is an amazing comic. So, Charlie, if you do click on the link that I put there that has the date, you can check out all of this comic online.
Oh my God! Well, you should put that. Maybe we'll put that link.
I will definitely add a link to it.
That would be a good deal.
All right.
That is very exciting. Well, someone who was kind of in her sexy 40s at the time that this comic came out was our senior news correspondent, Madam Webb. Her whereabouts were unknown during this time period, but I just get the feeling that there's a possibility that this comic was inspired by real events that happened in her life. Maybe she ghost wrote it. I have no idea. But these days, as you know, she does work for us. She's down at the corner of Hollywood and Vine with all of the latest news scoops and what we call the all trailer edition of the news with Madam Webb. So let's go check it out.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. Well, Madam Webb, as we know, you are a fan of basketball. The championships are set, so you will be there. Just like every team has that old nun who's like celebrating it's their last thing she does before she dies. You will be there pretending to be one of those people, so you can get on screen and hopefully get a close up, and you hope to get hired by a studio and get a reboot of Madam Web done. But we'll see how that goes.
Oh my gosh.
Before we do that, Charlie, we've got to go to our first story, which is indeed Superman gets an extended preview, of course, draws mixed response from fans. And I always love these because they are a bunch of people saying things based on a trailer before they've seen the movie. So you know what?
Right, exactly.
I love it when it happens because that always comes true. not.
Yes. So this wasn't a trailer per se, it was an extended look. So it was a portion of a trailer on the back end, which was mostly footage we'd seen. But it kicks off with the beginning of the trailer. So it was almost like they stuck footage in betwixt the trailer that we had already seen. But it was Superman crashing to Earth in the Arctic, all busted up, whistling for Krypto, as we've seen in the trailer, to come plunging through. And then Krypto finally gets there. And anyone who has ever owned a big, playful dog, I did when I was a kid. I had a golden retriever, very playful dog. When it just comes up to Superman and he says, hell, and Krypto just starts smashing him and jumping up and down. And it's like
all over him. It's like when your dog is coming on the bed to play, you're like, you just launched my junk.
Yeah, exactly. So it was the ultimate, like, read the room, Krypto. He needs some help. Yes. So he smashes at him, and Superman so take me home. And he finally, in the trailer, he tosses him the end of his cape, and then Krypto drags him across the ice. But we segue into the fortress opening up. So we get a very beautiful visual of the Fortress of Solitude, a la certainly looking like the 78 Superman Chris Reeve fortress, which is all crystals. I don't know if that's the way the fortress is always portrayed, if it's just an ice mountain or something, but that's how I tend to think of it being raised on those films. I don't know about you.
Yeah, the outside is less, the outside is probably different every time and different interpretations, but the inside is always like, typically the inside is less like a crystal palace and it's more like a real residence.
Right.
You see it.
Right. Yeah. Yes, yeah. So it is a formal dining room, and
exactly. It has a big screen TV.
Yeah, exactly.
A hot tub in the back. Yeah,
I love it. A hot tub in the Arctic. I love it. But anyway, we then see, and this ties right in with, if you've been following us on the Patreon, we've been talking about All-Star Superman. You see the Superman robots, his servant bots that are inside that attend to him. And it's funny, they're having like some banter, and there's a rumor that the female voiced bot is Linda Cardellini saying, "Oh, he looked at me." Yeah. So that kind of echoes back to James Gunn from Guardians 3. She was one of the other animals in the little menagerie that Rocket was a part of. So that was pretty cool, but they've got to get him healed. So they strap him down to this chair, and they put him in front of this big, like H.G. Wells looking super multi-screened or multi-faceted magnifying glass. And they said, set it to Saharan level 237 or something. So evoking the fact that, well, this is what the sun is like in the Sahara Desert, one of the hottest places on Earth, multiply 237 times, if in fact I picked the right number. And Superman...
And the fortress actually turns to focus on the sun. Yeah, and then you just see him being like just irradiated with the sun to heal him, because he basically said, you've got multiple ribs broken, a punctured lung, all these things. And I'm like, that's a big deal, because Superman typically doesn't get internal injuries.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so this is, we still don't know what caused him to be injured like that, but the trailer has certainly given us a lot of notions. So, and then from there we launch into pretty much the trailer that we've already seen. But yeah, some of the, like you said,
I gotta read at least one of these comments, Charlie. The first one's the best.
I know. So
go for it. These comments that people have seen after watching the trailer. The first one is, this is a negative. The real Superman doesn't need a bunch of robots to carry him over to table to heal. He doesn't whine like a little bitch when the sun hits him. I mean, this is this is just people that obviously are not into Superman. They're into the Snyderverse, or just don't like Superman. I feel like that way. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
All right. I get the second one, because this cuts to the core of the division with DC on film. Snyder's Superman literally took a nuke at point blank range and healed from the sun without feeling any pain from its radiation, which is accurate to the comics. Gunn's mediocre interpretation is screaming in agony. Okay. We've said time and again, we are talking, I'm evoking from a Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Ben Affleck, fictional characters. It's a fictional character. Your Batman is going to be different every time. Your Joker is going to be different every time. Why? It's just, okay. Let's finish it. Read the third one. We have three, so let's have third one.
Yeah, so James Gunn get it, they said. He won't make it a stupid comedy, they said. They said he understood the assignment. That was the worst Superman clip I've ever seen. It's not a joke, and it's all about Krypto. And when you hear that, you're like, You probably don't like dogs either.
Yeah, exactly.
Put
Yeah.
down too.
He finished typing that comment and then he kicked a puppy. I'm quite certain that's what happened.
I'm going to adopt a puppy to abandon it by the side of the road and laugh.
And so,
it was Cruella DeVille. It was Cruella DeVille wrote that comment.
Oh, you bet. Now, there's a bunch of positive comments. I don't think we really need to mess with those. But yeah, it's just, I even read a comment this morning from Snyder who was like, hey, you know what? If it's a good film, I'm all for it. So if he sees it and likes it and says that, will that alleviate some of the burden of these Snyder bros? I've never really enjoyed much of anything that Snyder's done, and please at me on socials if that really bugs you.
I see the good of some of the things he's done, but he also has made movies I felt like a lot of people all kind of feel, and financially and critically have said, they don't work. And I think people saw something in those films and they really liked them. And I get that. Maybe something speaks to you that nobody else gets, and I get it. But you know what? Fine, enjoy those and move on. Like I'm moving on from the Snyder films. You don't need to talk about them ever again. They're there. They happened. And if you like the iteration, great. If you don't, hey, we're done with those. We can move on. So,
and again, it's
everybody else move on.
The biggest part is that we're not talking about historical events. This is not a World War II movie where, space aliens invade and that's what
comic accurate is the worst thing in the world, because how many versions of Superman has there been?
In the last nearly a century that the character has been around. So just, you're right. It's an exercise and let it go and move on. Thank you very much. And that's what we're going to do. Yeah, that's what we're going to do to move on to the next story. And I will admit, as a hardcore trekker, this is related to Star Trek. So feel free to skip forward if you don't want to listen to me talk about Star Trek.
Charlie.
Yes, exactly. Pause. That this is an absolutely wonderful trailer for the third seasons of Strange New Worlds, which is the only Star Trek show currently that we're going to see on television in 2025. It's a great, fun, they call it genre bending in this headline, which I think is great because we get a great glimpse of a lot of different fun things. But it ends with coming this summer. Now we have
it's coming this summer, Charlie. There's a window of 3 months.
We got an extended preview of the season, much like we did with the Superman trailer last fall. And now we are into the spring, and we still don't know when this is coming out. It's wreaking havoc with my planning for my show.
Stretching things out, Charlie. They're stretching things out because they're like, when is anything else coming? We don't know.
This is all we got. This is all we got. There was an announcement that my friend Sean Farrick, who's over at Trek Culture, announced that in Europe, Sky One or Sky Dance, whatever the services that carried it, was going to drop it June 1. That was quickly retracted, and then Sean had to make a retraction video because he announced it. I saw another internet friend that was having a gathering to celebrate the season on August 1. So between June 1 and August 1, that's not even the whole summer. That's 2/3 of the summer, really. But
you go to late, like September 20th. So June 20th to September 20th is technically summer,
technically, right? Lot of people, like, even for the purpose of our summer movie challenge, we consider the summer May, the first weekend in May to Labor Day. That's what we consider it for our summer movie challenge, which we run from us. And we
lie. We don't know.
Yeah.
It feels like summer, but it's not summer. It's like right now, like back in March 20th, that started spring. Did it feel like spring? Hell no. Because I got snow in April. So you know what? Nobody knows.
Day to day. And yes, they call this
Australian summer, Charlie, which is actually the opposite. So you're going to get that next Christmas. You're going to get it in Christmas.
Terrible. But anyway, I'll read a quick summary and then Todd, you give your thoughts because I'm the Star Trek guy. Season 3, we reconnect with the Enterprise crew, still commanded by Captain Pike. They face the conclusion of season 2's harrowing encounter with the Gorn, which was of course a cliffhanger. But life and civilizations await, including a villain that will test our characters' grit and resolve. An exciting twist on the classic Star Trek season 3 takes characters both new and beloved to new heights and dives into thrilling adventures of faith, duty, romance, comedy, mystery with varying genres never before seen in any other Star Trek. Never before
be seen. Yes,
Mushmouth. It's Mushmouth. But yeah, so. Todd, and I've already put into our schedule over on Code, the episode before this comes back on, we're going to do a series so far, and I'm intended to have you on board because I'd like to have you guest
previously
and do that
on
with us. It's going to be previously on, so in segment 1 of the show. But all right, talk me through this trailer from somebody who's not me.
Oh, this looks so cool because they're doing what I've come back to love. I went all in on the long, drawn out plot lines that take 13 seasons, and they're great because they deliver something. But that's not TV for the last 1,000,000 years. It's not the best way to always do TV. It can and it can't. So we've had that with Discovery where it's been stretched out episodes and seasons and story arcs. And I think Strange New Worlds is my favorite show now because of their attention to being able to do both. Tell great stories, but also develop characters, lead to something else. So they nail both things fantastically. And I think that's great. And that's what TV is really good at. So I think we've lost it, but I hope we're there. But the fact is we're getting a murder mystery, which is one of my favorite things in the world, like a Clue where everybody's like dressed up, which is great. We are getting like some type of either a documentary, like they said, of like a show that was kind of like Star Trek, which I'm assuming they're like, so they look back and, back in Earth times or whatever. And they say, we found this old TV show and it talked about it. Right. And maybe some inventor was inspired by it, kind of like anybody inspired by it. Like that's why eventually some of the things look like they do. Yeah. And then let's see, it looks like a holodeck, which I know some people are like, oh, it's going to have a holodeck.
Right. I don't know yet. Yeah. It's funny because you're right. In that particular clip, it's two of our characters standing in front of the black walls with yellow grids, which was the holodeck appearance in TNG in particular, which is when the technology was first seen. However, in the old animated series, there was the recreation deck, which was like holodeck-like technology, but the, canonicity of that can be argued. So I'm sure it will make it perfectly clear. It doesn't mean that they're on that's not some weird alien technology or something. They could find a way to explain it away or alternate reality twist or whatever it is. I don't know. What I do know is that they've taken existing characters, and then the trailer ends in the best way with we have Martin Flynn, I think his name is Martin something, and then Paul Wesley, Martin Flynn, Scotty, Paul Wesley is clinking glasses and saying, "Hey, we make a great team." I love it. And
he looks great. Yeah, he looks great.
Yeah. I love him as Kirk. We did a whole segment on Code 47 back when Code 47 wrapped up. And Todd, you joined us where we recast the roles that haven't been cast yet. I would love to. And I know that some people, it would cause the world to blow into flames, but I would love this to turn into a soft reboot of TOS and to have which is what we talked about at the time. I think it'd be incredible to like tell stories in between stories that we knew in those 3 seasons, expand some, like I said, we talked about this on Code probably 1.5 years or 2 years ago. It was a long time ago, but I think it would be incredible to cast those other 3 roles that we don't have. So we don't have Sulu, we don't have Chekhov, and we don't have McCoy. But other than that, we've got the rest of the cast. So I think it would be pretty exciting to see the Enterprise. Here we are. It's a few years after this show wraps up, and now we have a new series that is just honoring and growing TOS, and it becomes kind of this weird blended canon. I know that it would make some people flip out, but I'd be excited.
How about I pitch you an idea that could work with it, that could be favorable. So I do love that. And just before I do that, I want to say really quick, there's going to be guest stars, including Rhys Darby, who's amazing. Patton Oswalt. Cillian O'Sullivan, don't know who that person is. Melanie Scrofano, and it says Carol Kane. I thought she was an irregular. I guess she's just showing up when she does.
Yeah, she's an irregular. Martin Quinn, by the way, is the guy who is the new Scotty. So I knew it was Martin something. And he's actually Scottish. First ever actor to play the role.
Oh my. Scottish people are vindicated finally. Yes, taking their jobs.
And Melanie Scrofano is that's Pike's girlfriend who is in peril at the end of the trailer. Yeah. At the end of the last season, the cliffhanger.
So my pitch is this, Charlie. We fast forward a little bit past the original end of TOS, like the last episode.
Okay.
And this cast sets up, and then we have the missions with that team post the last episode. So you don't even get in the middle of anything that the original cast was about. So basically, we didn't touch that. We just said, there's new adventures.
Season 4. Well, though, it was interesting, just to give you a little perspective. Sure. The pilot, which was actually the second pilot, first episode to feature Kirk, was set to be basically in the first year of that 5-year mission. Another year passes. We're in year 2. That is considered to be season 1 of the original show. So 2, 3, 4. We're in year 4 of 5. So you're pitching year 5. Basically, you're
5 and beyond. Maybe
yeah.
maybe the mission got extended. Like, sorry, kids.
You run into some issues because then the Enterprise returns to space dock and it gets rehabbed for 2.5 years, and then we have the movies. That's the distance between the end of the show and the movies is about 2.5 years.
But
so,
of course, the cast did not look like it was only been.
No, it had been 10 years. So it was funny. I just read a blurb about that. He said they did some light tricks. They said William Shatner starved himself to fit it. Because remember that outfit? All those outfits, super skin tight. Yeah, yes. I've worn one, and trust me, they're not forgiving. But anyway, I'm very excited about this. But yes, sharing my frustration. Hit us up on socials, any of the socials, and let me know, when do you think the show is going to be on? We're recording this in early April. I feel like they could, First Contact Day, it's basically May the 4th. For Star Trek people is First Contact Day. It's a date from First Contact, the movie, was yesterday, but it also fell on a weekend, so there was no announcement. So we're, as fans, we're frustrated. We want to hear it, but I would love to hear what people think is a realistic kind of drop date for this. So anyway, let's move on to April and I watched this trailer yesterday, and I literally jaw on the ground, and I said, that shit looks crazy by the time it was over. What do we got here?
We've got Tron Ares, which is the third movie and now a Tron trilogy, which nobody ever thought we'd get.
You're talking about a Tronology.
A Tronology, yes, sure. It's a new thing. So there also has been an animated series on Disney XD back in the day, which a lot of people really enjoyed, which I believe was between the original Tron and Tron Revolution. I'm trying to remember the name of the sequel. Maybe Resolution.
Is it all considered canonical? Like,
innovation?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's also been video games, things like that. But essentially, this is looking, I think it's now going to be 15 years post the last movie.
Which is, that's correct, yeah. I mean, you mean time-wise, or are you just saying it's been 15? Because it has been 15 years.
It's been 15 since the last movie, Tron Legacy.
Right. Yeah.
And this is once again bringing back Jeff Bridges, who was Kevin Flynn. And then we're not going to probably go back to any of the characters from the last film beyond that, but we are going to include new cast members: Evan Peters, Greta Lee, Jodie Turner-Smith, Cameron Monaghan. Cameron Monaghan. Oh, cool.
I know, that's right.
Yeah. So basically, then we also get Peters plays Julian Dillinger, who shares the last name with David Warner's Ed Dillinger.
Right. Oh, wait, hold on. Don't yes. You missed the one that I caught, which was Gillian Anderson. You see her as
that's right. You see her
in the trailer. Yeah, exactly. And I love this. There's an actress whose last name that I can actually nail because my first college roommate had this last name. It's Desjardins or Desjardins, if you prefer. A guy from
I work with a Desjardins.
Yeah, so, there you go. I thought that was cool. But also Hassan Mahaji, who is I think he's correspondent on the Daily Show. I recognize the name. But anyway, lots of names.
Yeah. So this is the first time that Tron has, the world of Tron has come into the real world. And that's where we get the holy crap things, because we've got the light cycles. And then the first thing you see is the light cycle goes on, turns on its trail.
Cuts a cop car in half.
Cop car right in half. We get the huge flying vehicles in the sky that are ridiculously huge. We get the Air Force coming out. We see vehicles that like flying vehicles that are coming out, taking on the aircraft. We do see one of the major Tron flying vessels, which gets hit by something. We see more troops, and a big change, which is important to the series, is the music. It's no longer going to be done by not Daft Punk. It's going to actually be done by Trent Reznor and Atticus Finch, who they've done scores from the Social Network, really cool scores. I think The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and also they scored Challengers, the tennis film, which is just and Challengers.
It's what, Todd, it's and Paycheck. I will, and I mentioned this anytime Tron comes up. The original soundtrack was done by Journey. They had a couple of great songs featured in that. So it's so weird to see the transition of who's doing the music, because now it's very serious and stuff. And then back in the 80s, it was Journey, man. Who doesn't love Journey? But it's not serious music the way the other.
If you remember, we also had a video game that was a classic where it had their heads digitized version of their heads on bodies.
Oh, I did not know.
Album covers too, so it's all
anything about that. It's all together. But this is fabulous. Yeah, I was looking and I said, "Oh, is this really going to jam us up for the summer?" But it comes out in October, which I guess I didn't know.
Perfect.
So
Perfect timing for this movie. Can breathe.
Yeah.
People that are nostalgic for it. And I really do need to rewatch the two movies. To get ready for this.
And I'm going to get you to watch the very last one we're going to talk about. I'll get you to watch, but we got a trailer and talk about just a weird. I'm hoping this is not going to be like the director's other motion picture, which was a train wreck. I'm talking about Seth MacFarlane of Family Guy fame, and the movie I mentioned is the what was it, 2,000 Ways to Die in the West or 1,000 Ways to Die in the Wild West? Remember that?
Well, he's not directing this. He's only executive producing this.
Okay, well that's better. But anyway, we're talking about
Kiva Goldsman or whatever. From Lonely Island.
Yeah. But this is a reiteration of the 80s film series, The Naked Gun, which spun off a show called Police Squad, which starred the late, great Leslie Nielsen. It is a benchmark for us of wacky comedy for us Gen X kids, without a doubt. But they cast Liam Neeson, which is just like,
yes.
Okay, I like, but again, I don't usually peg Liam Neeson in for a high comedy role, so you don't know what to expect. And I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way, but yeah, we get him breaking up a bank heist as dressed as a little girl going in there, but he tears the mask off and then he stands up.
Yeah,
and then and it's just so it's a bunch of. Excuse me.
It's got a lot of blood too. And just like I don't remember Frank Drebin like causing a lot of blood. Like he stabbed him with a lollipop, and
there's a lot of stuff that goes down, but what really the actual holy shit moment happens at the absolute last moment, because you see Liam Neeson looking at a picture of his dad, and again his dad is Leslie Nielsen. They look like they're closer to the same age, but he said, "Oh, I won't let you down, Dad." He's crying, but he's in a room of other cops looking at pictures of their cop dads crying, and the very last one is a picture of O.J. Simpson, who was in those films, and then it flashes back to the face of a young man who basically goes. You can see my face just gives the side eye. It's it's absolutely true,
right? So it's all full circle.
So this is wacky. This is going to be out in the summertime, if I'm not mistaken. I really get the feeling this is not going to do great because it just kind of seems like I don't know, but I feel like. If it's from the vibe of the Lonely Island guys. Now, I love them. I listen to Seth Meyers and the Lonely Island podcast every week. I love where they're breaking down all the SNL digital shorts and talking about their career.
Okay, I didn't know they had a. I didn't know they had a thing. Of course, everybody has a podcast now. Everybody breaking down their old stuff.
Exactly. But they talk about. I liken it back to talking about the movie they made in the late aughts, which was Hot Rod, which I've never seen.
Never saw it,
but it was an enormous bomb. So it just makes me wonder. And I'm not looking to, like I said, to put out there in the zeitgeist that I'm disrespecting the talent or say I don't like them. I love them. It's just they don't have a great track record of success for this kind of stuff. So
the last two things that he was associated with, Kiva, was Chippendales Rescue Rangers, that thing on Disney Plus, which I loved, which I thought was great.
Right,
and then he did Pop Star Never Stop Stopping, which a lot of people love too.
But was it? I guess I'm talking more. How does it translate into box office success? Was more my lead.
When you're making a movie about a pop star and then you got like a Disney Plus only, it's really hard to gauge that compared to. The fact that it's a spoof and we haven't had many of these lately, and the fact that you've got the guy from Taken, and he's got he's getting into that role, and the cast, Charlie, looks amazing. We've got Liam Neeson, of course, Pamela Anderson, which is she's doing no makeup now, but maybe she will for the role. Paul Walter Hauser, he's everywhere.
Right.
CCH Pounder, Kevin Durant, Cody Rhodes, Lisa Koshy, Eddie Yu, Danny Houston. So he's probably going to play the big bad villain or the commissioner.
Right.
So I'm all in.
The police commissioner will definitely see it. Or I can't get April on board with dumb comedy. She just doesn't like them. So I don't know.
My wife doesn't either.
Yeah. I get no play, and that's fine. But yeah, I don't know.
August 1st, I need a good laugh, Charlie. We all need a good laugh. Let's go see this.
We need a very good laugh in particular this week. But anyway,
it's Paramount, Charlie. You gotta support the company.
I do. It's not that I don't support them enough by dedicating a show to their biggest property. But anyway, Todd, I've got a math riddle for you about a movie that you've not seen the first one, but you're going to because we talked about it. But when you put together M3 GAN 2.0, do you add the 2 and the 3 or do you multiply them? Which one do you pick?
There's no X involved. If you added an X, that would be definitely a multiplication. So we're only going to do simple addition. Yeah. So we've got
3 and
5X the robots.
Right, 5X the robot. So I said math is hard. But definitely, so there's a sequel coming out. And Todd, if you watch the trailer, it probably didn't make a ton of sense to you.
Oh, no, it made complete sense to me.
I mean, well, yeah, I would say more in reference to the characters, because the first movie is about the now awkward-looking teenage girl was a little girl, and her parents died in a car crash. And as you've seen from the trailers, her aunt is some kind of computer genius and creates a playmate for her that it goes horribly right. You've seen that from the trailers. So Flash, and they defeat her at the end. Not a big surprise there. But now there is a new. Basically this is like Terminator 3. You have a femme fatale played by the actress who's Shin Hati from Ahsoka, who I always say looks like Billie Eilish.
Lana Sakno Amelia is the name of the new military grade woman. Yes. Right.
Military grade woman. That's what you call the episode. Yes. Military grade woman. But so Megan, the consciousness exists, but it's downloaded into like a Furby looking or like Tamagotchi, but it's got a body. Wasn't that the little thing you had to keep them alive by feeding them? It was a big thing for the millennials, I think.
It was, Tamagotchi was the thing. And this is more like one of those helper robots that have expressions. Yeah.
So it's like Amazon Echo, but it could kill you. It's made very clear by this, and they say it right in dialogue that the Billie Eilish robot is killing everyone who is associated with its creation and Megan's creation, which means they're coming to kill the young lady who is isn't that Allison Williams? I think. Remember Brian Williams, the anchor, his daughter who was in Girls? I think that's her. And the little girl. But Megan has been hardwired programmed to protect the little girl. So she's like, fine, I'll help you. Give me a new body. And then they give her a body. But even though the Shin Hati character has a person face, Megan still looks like creepy Fright Factory. And then it's just going to turn into Terminator 2. They're going to fight each other. So that's the whole movie. But you never know. It's also kind of like 7 of 9 and Voyager, in that when she gets introduced, the Borg are going to help us, but at the end they then decide to still try to assimilate. Yeah, so that's how this movie. Obviously, at the end would be like, "Oh, Megan, thank you so much," and then she's gonna be like, "And now I'm going to kill you." So that'll be how it ends. But I started, because this is a summer movie, so I did start a matrix of movies coming out and trying to compare them to how the previous movie did. And I think, I don't have it in front of me, but I think Megan did okay. So I still kind of have this in the running to see if this might deliver this summer. But so Todd, you'll watch this movie in the near future. I think it's on Paramount Plus, if I'm not mistaken, or it's somewhere. What did you think of this trailer?
I like that they're being very intentionally different than the first film. This is not a horror film. This is going to be an action film. So not many movies will pivot from the tone of one, go to the other. But in an instance where I don't know what you do. It's like, because it's like Child's Play, right? You could continue to try to do the Child's Play where it's like, oh, Chucky's with a new family and he's going to kill them. This instance says, you know what? If we try that, and I don't think it would be as successful, where else can we go? This makes a lot more sense. It is kind of like, what do you do with tech now? It gets stolen and used elsewhere. We always hear about Tony Stark's tech getting stolen.
The armor wars, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So now they could have gone even creepier and gone like the female companion route, which you just saw with Companion. But we're not doing that either, because that could have gotten really dark and more adult.
And that movie was very, that robot was very nice until it was being tortured and stuff, and then it snapped. So this is just a killer robot. This is just absolutely like Terminator.
Absolutely.
It's like Terminator 3, and she's the blonde Terminator in that one.
It would be like Terminator and Child's Play coming together. Right?
Exactly. So I think that looks fun. All right. Well, that wraps up our 5-punch trailer Mageddon. I have a non-news story. The Minecraft movie, which the first time I saw the trailer, and my general dislike of Minecraft, and I have my personal reasons, I'm not going to get into it, is looking at a...
vendettas. Lego's on the list. Minecraft's on the list. What else is on the list, Charlie?
I didn't say vendettas. I just had a strong dislike. Worldwide is boxing up $260 million. April and I went to the movies on Friday night, which I'll talk about in a minute here. And there were people, I think they were dressed up for the movie, but like, how do you get dressed up for a Minecraft movie? Because nobody was wearing blocks. Nobody was wearing blocks.
I don't know then. T-shirts with creepers.
I just got the feeling. But anyway, good for that. And Jack Black was on SNL last night, which it was a fun episode. Tune in. But anyway, that is the news. I have my Uber app out. Got to get us a Uber Duber because I got to get to where Todd is. He's already there. To get to the Geek Easy, we got to talk about things we're enjoying. My car is pulled up, jumped in. This guy's got the radio on, and I hear this very familiar advertisement.
Hey, Secret Friends Unite, let me tell you about Zencastr. We use them for our show, and now they're supporting us. Zencastr is now the all-in-one solution making podcasting easy. It's the ultimate web-based podcasting solution. Provides high-quality audio and video podcast production and hosting. With a full suite of professional tools, podcasters can seamlessly record, produce, and publish studio-quality content, all from one dashboard. Being a creator has never been easier. And we chose Zencastr because of the ease of use, high quality output, and it makes it super easy for our guests to come on. We had multiple solutions we tried before, and Zencastr has just been the best fit for us. Why Zencastr? It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sounds and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. Have you ever worried what you sound like? Zencastr's post-production process makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically removes those ums and ahs in your recording. It removes those awkward pauses in conversation too. Set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with the click of a button. So if you're interested in making an easy, high-quality podcast just with the click of a browser button, go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code SFU1. You'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Now back to the show.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting in the Geek Easy, cover band's playing, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on. So I'm kicking it off with something a little different. So something I'm geeking out about is murder mysteries. And I was surprised last night because I was going out with the wife and we're like, oh, she didn't tell me where we're going. And we ended up going to a murder mystery dinner. And this is one of the ones that was called, it's called Dinner Detectives. And she'd also invited some friends. So my friend, Steven and Trisha's, they're a couple that we really got to know really well. And also John Nias and Rachel Nias. So there were 6 of us there and we had a lot of fun. And basically it was presented in a way where you're brought in, you get your food, there's a group of actors, and the murder mystery is unveiled across the way, and then you have to determine who the killer is. If you have not done one of these before, they are a ton of fun, but you have to be open to a little bit of wackiness. Oh. Yes. Well, it helps too. They made a joke about that. You have to be into the mindset of having fun, playing along. And now if you're an old fuddy-duddy who doesn't like doing it, don't go, because you'll be ruining it for everybody. But everybody that was there was all in. It was so much fun. They even pulled up me because it was like kind of a birthday thing. So they pulled me up on stage with a bunch of other April birthdays and they just made us look ridiculous. So it was fun. I did not guess who the murderer, the murderer was, but half of the table did. So kudos to them. It's fun. If you see one of these in your neck of the woods, definitely go.
There is a murder mystery company here in GR, and some people that you and I know in common, Emily Slater, who's someone who was on the show with us long ago. That's how I became aware of that group. She was one of those people. So they are they do their shows in the back of this little restaurant that we're very fond of. So we've never
it's at a hotel.
They
usually get a place. We did it. I've gone to 3 of these so far. One was at another hotel. The other one was at the Old Spaghetti Factory in Minneapolis, and this one was at the Crown whatever hotel in Minneapolis. So very cool setting. Food's always subpar, but the company was great, and we had a great time.
Oh my!
So, there we go.
Subpar. So it's a hot dog and fries, crinkle fries.
It's that same like banquet food you get like when you're going to like an awards ceremony or like thing. It's chicken with vegetables and then a okay like dessert. And I will say this: the actual drinks weren't that expensive, so I'll give them kudos to the bar. Was not overcharging.
They need you to keep drinking. That's why.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so that is that. So if you get an opportunity to do that, it's a fun little side quest. So enjoy that. Which leads me to a real side quest, which is a new show on Apple TV Plus. This is actually a spin-off of Mythic Quest, and it's called Side Quest is what you do in video games. So this is a side quest about the people that are engaged with Mythic Quest, the game. So it's going to be either fans of the game or people that work for the company that makes the game. And this one was about a person that works on the game. And it was a very funny, but also endearing episode about this guy who's he's one of the art creators for the game. And he's on a vacation with his girlfriend. His plan is to propose to her. And unfortunately, the boss, played by blinking on his name.
Yeah, Rob Macaroni, isn't he the main guy?
Rob, yeah. Ian is a very demanding but endearing boss, but he's very demanding. So constantly when they're on the trip, Ian is emailing him, texting him, hey, I need you to work on one thing for me while you're here. And the guy, Phil, he just can't deny it. But along the way, he's having doubts about that his girlfriend is too good for him. And maybe it's all a ruse. And it's got a lot of emotional beats to it, which is great. And Mythic Quest has really done this really well with like standalone episodes of like one is just different than the rest of the series. So this one, it seems like this is what the show is going to be like. So it's great. I really enjoy it. Really ends very well. I really like the show. It's like a 35-minute comedy. You don't have to like video games at all. It's just really good cast, really good fun. So Mythic Quest and then now Side Quest. Check it out on Apple TV Plus.
I am so stuck in Apple TV Plus because trying to get through Severance and then tried to start the For All Mankind, and it's just so it's like eating steak every night. You know what I mean? It's tough. And then there's stuff like this show, which would be easy to watch, and I just can't get to it. I did.
Why are you eating tough steak, Charlie? Get the medium rare, not the well done.
Oh my God, no! My quick sidebar. Took my wife out for her birthday on Friday night. We went to this place she wanted to go to. Oh my God, it's steak. She's a big steak person. I'm not so much.
Okay.
Absolutely melt in your mouth.
Piece fantastic.
Of meat. And because April had bariatric procedure a couple of years ago, and when she's full, she stops eating. Even though by the two left, I got to finish it. Mwah! I had chicken because I always have chicken, and it was a great piece of chicken. Good stuff. Couldn't even finish it.
Piece of chicken.
Oh my God!
Well, you take it home and you eat it the next day with some eggs or something.
Chicken eggs.
I absolutely do. Yep, absolutely. And then lastly, Grimsburg is back. This is John Hamm's animated series on Fox. Basically, Flute. He's a detective who's really miserable, kind of down on his luck, but he's really good at doing detective work. But it's got a crazy cast of people, and they solve mysteries. And this episode I just watched, Charlie, was essentially Megan. So basically, his son is turning 10, and Stan is not, Flute has not been very good at being a dad, and his ex-wife got him a gift, and then he's like, well, crap, what am I going to do? So he finds out that this Megan doll person in this episode has like killed all these people, but she's now like trapped, and they're gonna, send her off to they're gonna basically send her to headquarters to get, basically examined for the evidence and everything. Well, a Flute decides, well, this will be a great gift for my son, and it basically goes down that path. So it's very over the top, very fun. It's tied into like Doll Town is a place that exists in Grimsburg where all the killer robots like Chucky and dolls and things like that have created their own. They basically came to an accord where they create Doll Town, so they would leave and not kill everybody in town. So it's a very,
very thoughtful,
just goofy show. It's once again Fox animated comedy. I'm enjoying quite a bit. It's back. It's on season 2, and season 1 is already on, I believe, on Hulu / Disney Plus. Yes,
yeah, there you go. Nice. Well, we lost Val Kilmer this week, who was a perennial actor for us Gen X kids. He was Batman in the 90s in a movie that I still find very enjoyable because we watched it not that long ago. We were on a Batman kick, but it was funny. We got to the George Clooney movie and then we somehow got distracted, so we did not go into the Nolan films, which we should absolutely get back to because those are good. But anyway, I had realized, I'm like, I said earlier this week, we should watch a Val Kilmer something. And skimming through the options, and I have never watched Tombstone, which was from 1993. I'd never seen it.
What?
I know. So this is on Hulu / Disney Plus. Brought it up. It's a 2-hour movie, and it's one of these, particularly for actors at the time. It's one of these movies that everybody's in this friggin' movie. Oh my God, including Lost Terry O'Quinn, who's a Michigan native, is in it. Billy Bob Thornton is in it. I don't have a list in front of me now, but really just. Kurt Russell is the star, and they said he shadow directed it because this was a movie early on that had a director change because the original guy fizzled out. They brought in the dude who directed Rambo 2 and Cobra, and he was recommended by Stallone. And those are two just super blow 'em up perfect 80s action movies. So it's obviously, if you're not familiar with the premise, it's Tombstone, Arizona, featuring, the gunfight at the OK Corral, and actually watching this spurred me on to watch the original, this episode of the original Star Trek series that was adapted from The Spectre of the Gun, one of the only good episodes from the 3rd season of that show. But anyway, Val is Doc Holliday, he's dying from tuberculosis. I had to look up tuberculosis because I wasn't super familiar with it. It's a lung disease. Consumption. He's always, and he's pale through it, but in the end of it, it's great. He kills the bad guy, who is Michael Biehn, by the way, from Terminator, from Aliens. And it's a great film. The one thing I noticed about it that felt dated, and it was very 80s and 90s big swells of orchestral music. Anytime anything big was going to happen, it was like, no. Dana Delaney is the love interest, which, Dana Delaney, you never hear anything about her anymore. But
China Beach.
Loved her in China Beach. That was a big one in this house. And then I look for it on VOD, but I own a disc of, and it's not the Zucker brothers who directed it, but I believe they were involved in it. Val Kilmer's actual first project, this is from 1984, I believe, was Top Secret. So it's a spoof film where he plays an Elvis-like character who ends up in East Germany and then embroiled in this plot. And it's just completely ridiculous. Completely ridiculous, and including a cow wearing boots, and this woman whose boobs glow as headlights, and the underwater fight in an Old West saloon. I mean, Ted, you know the movie, I'm sure.
Absolutely, it was actually Abrams and the Zuckers did it. Yep.
Okay, I thought so.
Yep.
But yeah, an absolute joy. And yeah, Val Kilmer had been off the scene for several years. Yeah, he had throat cancer and was kind of robbed of his voice. Last time we really saw him was back in 2022, which had been filmed in 2019 or 2020, the sequel to Top Gun, so Top Gun Maverick, where he reprised his role as Iceman, and his character passed away in that movie too. So that made it even more touching. And I know Tom Cruise spoke at CinemaCon, which was earlier this week, and paid tribute to him. So it was. So rest in peace, Val Kilmer. All right. Well, we had to pick something because I don't think we usually go to the movies once a week, and we hadn't seen anything last week. So I'd been seeing trailers for this movie called The Woman in the Yard, which is just literally that. It's a woman dressed in black with a black veil sitting in a wrought iron chair on these people's property. And this woman who has a broken leg hobbles out and says, "What are you doing here?" And the woman says, "Today's the day." Like, very ominous, right? That really came straight from the trailer. It's a very small film, almost completely unknown cast. It's a woman who has suffered the loss of her husband in a car crash, and it's only a couple of weeks later she broke her leg in the car crash, so her mobility is very limited. She has two kids. One's a teenage son. The other one is a young daughter. And, she wakes up one day, she's suffering from shock and didn't pay the electric bill, and her phone is dead, and just her son has to force her out of bed. And they look out the window, and then there's the titular woman sitting in the yard. And so our main character hobbles out there and says, "What are you doing sitting in my yard?" And she says, she holds her hand out and it's covered in blood, and she says, "Today's the day." And it just turns into this really taut psychological thriller. The movie's a little less than 2 hours, but it's one of those films that leaves you wondering if anything that happens in the film is actually happening, because you get a lot of fake outs where, that definitely didn't happen. It goes back to the previous, but then, did this thing really happen? And jumping back and forth and figuring out why the woman is really there, what it's representing. Definitely a thriller, but it's set and filmed in Georgia. You can tell because it just looks hot. Everybody's sweating. And I don't want to imagine what summertime in Georgia is like when your power fails and you don't have AC. I didn't even want to hear about it.
Stuff.
But like I said, it's a taut little thriller, a small film, small cast, small budget. I didn't look up the numbers. I didn't feel like it was going to be a big enough number to really slay. Plus, it's up against Minecraft. Not that they're really counter programming, not that they're really simpatico or that's necessarily counter programming, but it was a cool, like I said, psychological thriller. It leaves you kind of wondering from bit to bit what's going down. So if it's unsuccessful, it'll probably be on a streaming service very soon. So keep your eyes peeled, because I think it's
the budget got to be pretty low on that one. I have seen trailers, but I mean, one of those things where is it real or it's not? That's kind of always frustrating, because it's like, okay, some people enjoy that, some people don't. Right. They're like, "Oh, this is dumb." Is it real? I need a conclusion. But sometimes things are just meant to happen, and we just guess.
Yes, exactly correct. All right. So on Apple TV Plus, I was talking about a minute ago how I can't finish. We got into the second season of Severance at least, but then I also obviously really want to watch For All Mankind, because Ron Moore made it, and I'm a Ron Moore nut. But it's slow going. But an easy show to get into, much like your side quest, is The Studio, and this is Seth Rogen, and it's a very tongue in cheek. He is a guy who was recently pushed into the position of running a studio, and it's his misadventures dealing with Hollywood, getting things made. There are 3 episodes out now, or maybe it's just 2. No, I'm not sure if it's there are 2 or 3. But the episode this week, Ron Howard guest stars in it, and Ron has made a movie with Anthony Mackie that has he's sitting in a test screening with his cohorts. One of them is actor Ike Eisenberg, the other one's Catherine Hahn, and they're sitting there and they love it, and then it comes to this lull, and it goes on for like 2.5 more hours, and they're all asleep. And so Seth is struggling, having to give this feedback to Ron in a meeting that they're having, and the conclusion of it is I was practically, I never say LOL, but I was LOL at this. It is an absolute hoot. The other star, the person who lost their job so that Seth could be promoted, is Catherine O'Hara, but she stays on. Yeah, she stays on. So just think about that. Todd, you've got to tune into this show. It's absolutely. I definitely will. I'd heard the local show. They do a segment called, it's a local radio station every morning. They do a segment called Boob Tube Bonanza, and they talk about what's on TV, what they've been watching. They've been talking about White Lotus. They've been talking about all these shows. So one of the shows that they mentioned was this. They talked about the fact is the first episode was all about making the the Jim Jones movie with calling it Kool-Aid. They're trying to build a franchise, and I think it's Martin Scorsese, right? Pitches this story that they realize they can't make into a franchise. They're trying to make a franchise. I thought it was like, it's going to be about the Kool-Aid Man. No, it's about he is Kool-Aid Man, Jim Jones. But not the right way. Oh my god. So this is going to be standalone, kind of like different movies and projects. Well, that's good. I like that versus being in. I like a good comedy. We haven't had one of these in a while, so I'm interested. There's too much good TV right now.
now. Too much good TV.
It's really tough. So yeah, Apple TVs, we'll hang on to it for a while. Obviously,
Sure.
a breaking point where we're just not watching stuff. We're just gonna have to let it go. So that's what's going on there. And that is the end of the Geek Easy. So now I've got my Air Qantas app out. It is time to get out of here. Get us down to the land down under. Hologram Tina and the mutants are waiting for us, and we've come back around to Todd A Show. Let's do it.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. The mutants have been gathered for a topic or game to be entertained. And this week, we're bringing back Todd A Show. Todd A Show is very simple. In the past, I've been known to hear about a premise of something, and I say, I know how this is going to end, and I just make up my own version of it and decide it's not worth even watching because my version is the best. So, Todd A Show, there you go. There you go. So this week we're doing lesser known 1970s TV shows where Charlie will give me the name only of a TV show and I have to Todd A Show it.
And I will remind you for the 57th time that when you give a decade, it's not possessive. There's no apostrophe. See, there you
yes,
go.
It is. I possess this decade. It possesses the TV.
You will not possess it. And look at that. There you go. You also created a red line in the document. All right. Tell me about a little show called Getting Together.
So Getting Together. Okay. Do you have a year?
1971.
Oh, wow. This is really old. 1971. Okay. So I don't know anything right now about if it's comedy, a dramedy, an action, don't know. So Getting Together from 1971. This show premiered. It was going to be an amazing, huge vehicle for Don Knotts. Coming off The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, The Incredible Mr. Limpet, and after the Andy Griffith show was canceled, he needed something to do. So he said, I'm going to change it completely. Don Knotts says, I'm going to be the executive producer of this. I pitched it. It's going to be my vessel to Emmy Awards and to bigger and better things. So Getting Together is all about Don Knotts going and getting together a crew of assassins, mercenaries, intelligentsia, and former undercover spies to form a secret agency that the government has been wanting, but they haven't been able to find the right guy. So they go out to Don Knotts, whose real name is Doc Terror. That's his real name. Don't know why.
Doc Doctarian. Is his farm by any chance Knott's Berry Farm? I think that'd be great. No, okay, sorry.
No. So Doc Terror, he had come from a really crack agency or a part of special services within the Korean War. He's settled down post-war and he's just hitting an itch. So he's hearing about a new threat coming out of Cambodia. He approaches his old buddy, Commandant Lassard, yes. Why not?
That's how we got to start.
And he said, I know this is happening. I've heard whispers from my contacts. I'm getting together the crack squad of, we're going to call it FIST. It's going to be the Federation of Internal Strategic Terror, because Doc Terror. So there you go. That's the name of the organization. Don Knotts, Doc Terror, has formed his group. He's assembled a young Gary Busey as the new graduate from the Naval Academy. He was going to be a Navy SEAL. It's also include a Charles Bronson. After a couple of those things, he comes in. He was a world champion, Taekwondo champion. Was disgraced. Was found taking illegal suppository enhancements. also brought in a, let's see, it would have been, at the time, it would have been Diana Riggs from the Avengers fame brought in. She would have been the sexy undercover assassin, and then also brought in a very buff Alex Harris, who was going to be the muscle, also the demolitions expert. So they are brought in together to take down a Cambodian drug czar who's selling a mix of cocaine and diet stimulants. And it was going to come to the U.S., but they bring the crack team together. They're getting together to kick ass and save democracy, Charlie. It lasted 5 episodes. Canceled because the government thought it was too realistic and was giving away secrets.
It's too real.
Did I get getting together right?
I was going to say giving away secrets in this day and age is preferred. So this show could have been very successful right now if you saw it on Signal. Not at all close, but very compelling. Aww. So what Getting Together from 1971 is all about is described as it was on ABC, obviously, because they say it's one of ABC's best musical TV shows. Getting Together was first broadcast in 1971, was another sitcom from a decade that only lasted 1 year. The show starred Bobby Sherman and Bobby Conway. Now, Bobby Sherman, I know.
He's a Disney guy, right? He wrote all the Disney songs?
I think so. Bobby Conway, it doesn't sound familiar to me. They were Wes Stern and Lionel Poindexter. Poindexter is never a great last name.
Is anybody really a Poindexter?
I guess.
Just a real, like a fake name.
Yeah, right. A singer-songwriting duo, so I tend to think of them a little bit more like Simon and Garfunkel, or perhaps Hall & Oates, or what's another great duo? Captain and Tennille. I don't know. Give me another duo.
Mesner and Loebs, I think, is another group. I think that's the team from Disney. I think that's actually the name of the team.
Oh, very good. You said Mesner and Loebs. I'm like, you're thinking of Loggins and Messina, but yeah, not the same guy.
No, I think Mesner and Loebs was,
yeah. Anyway, they spent every episode working to achieve superstardom. They were often surrounded by several wacky characters that made things even more interesting, such as Susan Naher as Bobby's younger sister and their roommate Jennifer, and Pat Carroll as their wacky landlady Rita. There were plenty of factors.
You always need a wacky landlady.
Got to, exactly. Or a nasty landlady. That's what Peter Parker had in his apartment in the 70s. Yes. You had
Absolutely.
It was Mrs. Muggins. There were plenty of factors that made Getting Together a well-written sitcom. Lionel's ear for music was terrible, which made his shared dream with Bobby that much harder to achieve. The two were also established characters, as the backdoor pilot of Getting Together was aired as an episode of The Partridge Family. Wow. So it was a spinoff. Interesting. Bobby and Lionel's escapades greatly distracted them from their aspirations, but that was why the sitcom worked so well, or it should have. Getting Together contained many of the best and worst sitcom tropes, but it was a shame that it was so short-lived. Oh, and there's a hot link. I guess there's a separate article about what those are. Eight tropes that can ruin a sitcom. Since we're talking about this, I'll jump in there. Are you ready for this listicle? Casual sexism / the womanizer, a la Barney from How I Met Your Mother. Will they, won't they, like Friends or New Girl. Overly precocious children like Full House or Modern Family.
Perfect.
Mockumentary style, The Office or Parks and Rec. Body shaming like New Girl or Friends. The tomboy, in quotes, like That 70s Show or How I Met Your Mother. Regressive character development, aka Flanderization, Friends and Community. Interesting. LGBTQ plus identities played for Last, Friends or How I Met Your Mother. That's fair. And that's the end of the list. That's Screen Ramp's 8 worst sitcom tropes. So there you go.
Gotta love it. I'm all in.
All right.
On Getting Together. There's probably there might be an old trailer or something like that.
Yeah. Everything.
A good link for mine that actually has more information, because what I've got on mine has like very little information about it. Just has like a thing, but is there any episode coverage?
No.
This one's a little weird. I'm looking it up really quick. So, right. Charlie, I'll get you to look for it, and you pitch me on Alvin Purple. The year was
Alvin Purple. Okay.
Yep. 1976. That's all I'm going to give you.
This is an easy one because it's 1976. It's the bicentennial, and Todd, it's in your own great Twin Cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul. This is a story. It becomes kind of autobiographical because it is written. It's kind of ghostwritten by a young man named Nelson Prince Rogers. That's right.
Oh no,
our own Prince from the 1980s. Created this story about his own life, adding in, and again, I should say it was more prescient than anything else, and you couldn't necessarily tell in the end of it if it was what really happened or if it was just some kind of fantastical fever dream. Now, I don't have Prince's autobiography out in front of me, so we'll call this kind of a dramatization. But we're telling the story of a young mixed race boy who was born in the early 1960s, late 1950s. So he's a teenager as bicentennial fever is it's gripping the nation. And again, I'm a bicentennial baby myself. I was born in February of 1976. And as I understand it, at least by that scene in Forrest Gump, where Forrest and Jenny are watching the fireworks go out over the Statue of Liberty, that it was apparently a very big deal. And I have a certificate in my baby book, which is actually in my footlocker right to my right. So yeah, it was a big deal. But no, we watch, as Prince will say that he was born, and we'll say he was born in 1960. All right. So he's 16 years old. And so he's going through all of those, and we'll say tropes because it's kind of a sitcom dramedy-ish. It's a 30-minute show, 22 and a half, maybe 24 minutes because they didn't cram in as many commercials as they do now. Because shows now are probably down to 20 minutes if you think you'd take the commercials out. But we get to watch kind of the highs and lows of, he's coming from a background where he's being raised by a single parent, or maybe he's being raised by an aunt or an uncle, and he's going to a school that maybe it's not the best school in the neighborhood, but he has a very kind of welcome back Cotterish kind of cadre of friends, a rogues gallery of people, but he finds himself in situations like all the sitcom tropes that you would expect. Let's say they've got to steal the rival school's mascot for homecoming game, and he ends up getting mixed up in that. And he's supposed to kidnap a goat, but it's late, so he ends up kidnapping the principal's dog. And that's a whole situation of how they have to get back of it. And every episode ends with a great musical number. And again, how do you get that in a 22-minute episode? Well, I lied. It can't be. It has to be a 44-minute. It has to be an hour-long show, because how are you going to have a musical number at the end?
They're going to say, how did they do that? Horribly badly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Horrible and badly. It all went badly. Yes.
Right. So this is, in some ways, you can kind of think about it. Welcome Back, Kotter was popular at the time, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that was a later 70s show, 75, 76. Mm-hmm. I'd have to look it up. So this was, in a lot of ways, I won't say a spiritual cousin, but it was kind of like a redheaded stepchild to that program. Yeah, exactly. But Alvin didn't have red hair. He didn't have purple hair. That would be easy, but purple was his jam. And you started to see some brilliance coming out of this that gave us the career of Prince. Rest in peace. And
wow. Wow.
Exactly. And believe it or not, because of the crossover, who did you see in one episode of this show? Mary Tyler Moore. I don't know how they got her. Filmed on location, I guess. I have no idea. But there you go. Alvin Purple, 1976.
That little boy, Prince Rogers.
Little boy grow up to be Roy Cohn. And that's the rest of the story.
Exactly. Okay, Charlie.
All right, what do I got? Tell me.
A worthy attempt, but I don't think you were even remotely close. And the hard part about this show was it was an Australian broadcast corporation
ABC
show.
Australia.
Yes, ABC, but different. So the premise of this show called Alan Purple was actually a spin-off, or they adapted a movie, and actually had two movies called Alvin Purple. It was so popular they decided, hey, we should make this into a TV series. So they did. But the premise of this, Charlie, is a waterbed salesman who is irresistible to women gets a job as a gardener in a convent. That's it.
Well, how is he still selling waterbeds then? Does he get fired?
Well, he was aspiring to sell waterbeds. Doesn't mean he was able to do it. He ended up working as a gardener in a convent, and he's got all these sexually irresistible women. So you can see that this could cause nonsense, as they would say, Charlie. Nonsense.
It's a reverse. You remember in Star Trek: The Motion Picture, you have the bald character Ilea, and they have the pheromones, so they have to swear an oath of celibacy because no one can keep their hands off of them. So this is kind of like what would happen if like John Travolta was a gardener in a nunnery. Okay, got it. So
I don't even have any plot synopsises, but I do have episode titles for the 13 episodes that lasted. So I will tell you those episodes now. The first episode was A Million Reasons Part 1, A Million Reasons Part 2, then A Like Son, Like Father, Hospitality, The Postman, Purple Stork, The Hustled, Have a Go Rod, Rhythm Method, Footy Widow, Oh Death, Where Is Thy Sting, London Derriere, and Ciao Alvin.
Ciao Alvin. Oh God.
Bye Alvin.
Oh, Ciao. I thought it was
not
Ciao.
Not eat him.
Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah, right. It ended in
eating Raoul. That famous movie cover you see at the video store, and you don't know what that's about.
That the star of that was Robert Beltran Chakotay from Voyager. Look at that. Everything comes back to Star Trek. I'm just.
Everything does. Everything does.
Down.
Well, there you go, folks.
That was incredible.
We did Todd A Show. We were both completely wrong. But that's okay. Hopefully you were entertained, and that's the journey we all strive to take when we do Todd A Show.
It's not the journey, it's not the destination, it's journey. It's one of those two things. But that being said, that is our show, friends. Thank you as always for joining us. Todd, where do people find you out there if they want to continue the conversation, if they want to pitch a show to you? Where do they find you?
Absolutely. And that's something we'd always ask for our patrons and to do is pitch us things that we should talk about on the show. But, when we're not hanging out with our Discord, which you definitely should do, join us. We do a lot of cool stuff over there. You can follow me on the Blue Sky at Todd Oxtra, at See Your Friends Unite are both there. And then at the Threads, Instagram, at Toxtra, at See Your Friends Unite.
Totally awesome. I'm easy to find on the big three, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. I am at the C3, TheCeethree. I'm there. I'm doing stuff. I'm posting pictures of my cats and memes about what's going on in the world, and I'm just having a good time. But as Todd said, the real jam is the Secret Friends Unite Discord. We're at easy to find, but if you can't find us there, send one of us a ping on any of those DMs, and we're happy to get you on board because that's where, what is that song go? Mama always told me not to look into the eye of the sun, but Mama, that's where the fun is. On the SFU Discord. You don't hear that part. I think they edited it out, but it's the truth.
No, I don't think so.
With that, I'm going to say one more time, thank you for joining us. I'll let you know that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
Do you want to play a game with me?
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.